Manish, I can see your name. Are you on mute? All right, okay. So this is going to be the SAP training, MMWM training course, and I'm going to be the instructor. My name is Ravi. The agenda for today is going to be very brief. I'll just talk about myself as the instructor here, and then expecting some students to be here so that I could get to know the students and their profiles, etc. But since there are no students, I guess I'll have to skip that portion, and then I'll continue on with the course content and duration of the course. And if there are any follow-up questions after course completion, as well. Manish, I cannot hear your voice. Can you speak up? Something is wrong with your microphone. Okay. Yeah, you may check in the meantime. Okay. Do you want to dial through a cell phone or something? Maybe I can hear your voice then. Okay. Yeah, I'll wait for you. Okay, so while Manish is dialing through the phone, for all the students who will be listening to this recording, welcome to TekTaurus Education for your SAP MM and WM training. Like I mentioned before, the agenda for today is going to be a brief introduction about my profile, and we'll talk to Manish and get to know his profile here as well, and then course content and duration and follow-up questions after the course completion and any further administrative questions that you might have. Manish,
okay,
is that you?
Yes, I am on now.
Okay, very good. All right. So for the benefit of the students, I'll start off with my introduction. My name is Ravi. I have been working in SAP almost close to 9 years now, and during the span of these 9 years, I have handled various roles ranging from as a business analyst, as a contractor, and whatnot. So I have done contracting for a while, and then I have been working full-time for quite some time. And as far as the training portion to student goes, I have been training students for the last 4 years, although it has been on and off. It always depends on the students' demand and the availability of students for training needs and stuff like that. But I have been carrying out training for the last 4 years. So I think at a very high level that is about me. And currently I'm working in a manufacturing industry. And I have in the past worked in high-tech, agriculture, and retail industries as well. So that's about myself at a very high level. Manish, would you go on with your profile and your background and your education and those details, please?
Yes, I'm currently working in a medical field. We do sales and service for medical instruments or devices. I manage the, I'm the operations manager, so I manage the inventory of the products. I have background, little bit of SAP of using the the sales order, the delivery side of it, the MMBE side of it, or managing, not managing materials, but viewing the materials, the MM side of it. So I have little background in SAP. My knowledge, my education is master's. I've done my master's in biomedical, and I've been with this company now almost 6 to 7 years now.
Okay, so it looks like your primary profile has been working on the business side. Based on what you have just mentioned, looks like you have a good experience with sales orders and deliveries and stuff like that. So it's primarily from the business perspective, correct?
Well, more of a warehouse management.
Okay, yeah. But your title is operations manager.
Correct.
Okay, very good. Okay, so I think that's good enough introduction just to know Manish here, and we'll move forward and just briefly talk about the course content and the duration. I'm pretty sure Madhu might have already emailed out the course content for all the students here. So I'm sure you all have the course content in detail in your emails. But at a high level, I'm going to just touch upon the course structure that we will be dealing with. I just put at a high level as to the major topics that we'll be covering. Obviously, we will go in much depth when we start the course, but for the benefit of the students today, so we'll be starting off with introduction to SAP, and then we'll slowly go into the path of processes and procurement. We'll touch then slowly with materials planning, and then we'll branch off to inventory management and physical inventory, valuation and account determination, invoice verification, and WMS. The reason I put WMS in the end is, we need to start off logically with MM, and then we'll connect with the next logical path of warehouse management as well. So this is at a very high level. I mean, obviously, when we start opening up each of these sections, we will go in great detail as to the other subtopics involved in each of these areas. So any questions on the course content? Okay, I take silence as no questions. Again, the contact information for any technical questions, like I mentioned in my introductory slide, as not only during the course of training, or even after the course is completed, anytime if you have any technical questions relating to any topic whatsoever, you can always reach me at learnandmaster@gmail.com. That is LEARNNMASTER@gmail.com. That's my email address. Once I get any question or any kind of contact from you guys, then probably we can schedule some time and go over your questions later on. But throughout the course, if we are going to be having the training in class, we will definitely be seeing each other, and then that will be the time definitely we'll have some questions and we can go over them. But this is primarily after the course has been completed. You can always reach me at my email. And if you have any administrative questions, you can definitely reach Madhu at TekTaurus.com. Anything related to placements and any type of question that you have non-subject related, you can definitely reach her. And the proposed timeline for completion of this course right now is 4 weekends. That would mean 8 days, the entire days, especially Saturdays and Sundays. It's going to be complete day of Saturday and Sunday for 4 weekends. So I think that is definitely sufficient enough time for us to go over these topics, and we will go at a very moderate to normal pace. We'll definitely not rush through topics. We will go in great detail. So we'll make sure that the topics that we are supposed to cover, we accommodate and pace ourselves in such a way that we complete all of these topics in 4 weekends. So any questions on that?
So this will be more of a WebEx, right? The trainings, or this is somewhere that do I have to physically be somewhere in Jersey?
I think I'll have to check that with Manish, but I was told it's going to be in class. But if it turns out that it's got to be a WebEx session, that's okay too. But I think the last I spoke is probably going to be an in-class session. But I'll have to double check with her. But yes, it can be dual, depending on the availability of students and stuff like that. So,
okay.
Okay. So now what I'm going to do is, now that we briefly touched upon the course content at a very high level, I'm going to open up the course content that was emailed out to you guys. So that way you can follow me through, and we can briefly touch upon the areas that we'll be touching when we start the training. So as you can see on my screen, we'll start off with introduction to SAP. I'll definitely touch upon some basis topics and what basis means, and especially transports and stuff like that. I know some of these terminologies might be new to you guys, but just hold on to those new terminologies. If you are completely new to SAP and terminology, then it's time for you to start slowly learning these terminologies and keep them in the back of your mind for now. And we'll talk about SAP services and any kind of business scenarios. We'll always, depending on the topic that we are dealing with at that point in time, I'll always present a business scenario and maybe ask questions directly to you guys as to how you would approach in solving those business problems once you have grasped all of the basic fundamentals and the business concepts. So that's primarily going to be in introduction to SAP, and when we move forward, we'll touch upon processes and procurement. So as you all know, materials management primarily deals with procurement process at a high level, and then there are varieties of procurement processes, which I'll not go in great detail, but there are varieties of business scenarios depending upon the industry that you would be working in, and then not all companies would be requiring all business processes depending on their business needs, but we will definitely cover those procurement processes in such a way that at least 90% of the industries out there would have used those business processes. We'll slowly talk about master data, which are some of the fundamental building blocks in materials management. And then I have listed out some of those scenarios over there, especially procurement of stock materials, consumables, external service management is something which we will deal with, where it's a non-stock procurement, and reporting in MM. Also I have mentioned here as reporting in MM, but every sub-module within SAP always have their own reporting areas, so we will definitely talk about those as well. Excuse me. And then materials planning. This area primarily deals with how you would plan your resources, especially your materials in your company, depending upon the need and the demand. So there are lots of variables and factors that go in planning of materials planning, which we highly call as materials requirement planning. So there are a lot of subtopics in that. We go over the basics. We look at what a planning run is and how lot sizes are calculated, and reorder point planning. And obviously all these topics, they are not definitely going to be theoretical, they will be hands-on. When I say hands-on, we will definitely look at the system and see how SAP behaves with each of these moving variables, and how you can control those variables to get the results that you need. But for that to happen, you have to get a good grasp of what those mean and how do they function altogether. And then we'll slowly touch upon purchasing details as to purchase orders and purchase requisitions. And then purchasing details is what it all covers with. Outline agreements is more with contracts. Source determination is how do you identify your vendors, or which vendor do you go with, who makes the determination, how do you make the determination, and so on and so forth. Optimized purchasing is more like making your purchasing process more streamlined, so that way you plan your purchasing activity in a more efficient manner. So all of this gets covered in material planning and purchasing. So the first two areas which we talked about, processes and procurement, along with materials planning, they form the major chunk of purchasing activity. Once that is done, we will go with inventory management and physical inventory, which deals with the process of receiving goods into your plant, and then dealing with the stock in your plant with different movement types, both inward and outward, and stock transfers between plants, and then doing cycle counts and physical inventory management, and then inventory sampling. So inventory management would primarily deal with the section once you have received the stock into your plant, what happens to materials, how do you deal with it, how do you scrap them, how do you do transfer postings, how do you basically move the material within your warehouse. That's what inventory management primarily deals with. The next topic we will cover would be valuation and account determination. That's going to be the integration point between MM and FICO, where you would see how the GL accounts on the finance side get impacted with any kind of movement that happens on the materials management side. So how those things tie together with any kind of procurement that you would make, what type of a GL account would get hit on the accounting side. Similarly, when you receive something, what happens on the GL side. Similarly, when you issue something, what happens. So basically, it's going to be the interaction between materials management and finance. Invoice verification, that's the follow-on step after account determination. So again, invoice postings from vendors and any kind of financial accounting impact that you would see, equivalent activity happens on the purchasing side. And one thing I forgot to mention is in the purchasing details which we just saw here, we will also go over purchase requisitions and release strategies of purchasing documents, both on requisitions and purchase orders as well. Any questions so far?
No, nothing from my side.
Okay. And then once we cover materials management, then we will go into warehouse management. Warehouse management, as you know, is the interaction between, again, it's closely tied with IM and materials management for sure. So there we will go in great detail as to what happens once the stock is received into the plant and how they are managed in bins in the warehouse. First in, first out principles, especially if it's a goods receipt, what happens after that? If it's a goods issue, what happens after that? If it's a delivery, and so on and so forth. So there are all the wide variety of transactions that are involved in warehouse management. Inventory management is at a very high level. Warehouse management is going to be more granular. So we will touch upon those topics as well. That would mean the IMG steps as well. So for example, in all these topics that we are going to cover, we will not only go through the basic flow in detail, we will also touch upon the IMG menu path as well. So you need to know how to configure a specific business scenario that would come up in a day-to-day life. So be prepared for that. We will definitely be covering the configuration aspects of the course as well. And once we get to cover all of these topics, I'm sure there will be questions from students who would like to go in great detail as to some of these specific areas, and then we will touch upon business scenarios that I have come across in my experience and how those things were handled, and some of the real life examples as well. So that way, when you prepare yourselves for interviews and for your career launch pad downstream, you will have better knowledge and information, and you'll be in a position to answer questions appropriately and solve business problems that would be thrown at you. So that's how this course is being planned. So this course will not only be theoretical, but it will also be hands-on. When I say hands-on, I will definitely go over the menu path for configuration, and if possible, if time permitting, I might ask the students some questions as well to make them configure in front of me as well during the course of the duration. Any questions so far?
You have, I guess, this is being done on actual SAP, right? I guess in a test environment.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I think, but depending on, I'll have to find out with Madhu as to, if this is really going to be in-class session or remote. Either way, I think we should definitely have the IDS system access, and we'll definitely have system access, and we'll do it in SAP. Which is going to be the training client. Okay, I just see a couple of other names here who just joined. Okay, so I see Soham. Soham, is that the name?
Hi. Yeah.
Okay. Hi, Soham. Yeah, we were just talking about the course content, stuff like that. But before, this session is being already recorded. So I'm sure after today, this recording will definitely be shared with you guys by Madhu. But can you just briefly explain about your profile? What's your educational background and what are you working on right now, so that I have an idea as to whom I'm speaking with?
Yeah, actually, my name is Soham, and actually I did a Bachelor of Pharmacy in India, and actually I had like 2.5 year experience in the SAP Material Master regarding that the pharmaceutical, based on pharmaceutical experience, because we are using SAP as for the code creation. So I have like brief knowledge about SAP.
Okay, and what's your job title? Are you a business user? Are you? I'm guessing.
No, actually, right now I'm working in a laboratory.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's a pharmacy related, so it's science related, so that's why.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer that.
And you're trying to get into SAP, the IT domain, correct?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay, so do you have any idea of SAP at all, or based on your current job right now? Have you dealt with SAP? Do you work in SAP as part of your day-to-day functions today, or?
Right now I'm not working on SAP, but I used to work on SAP. Like in Material Master, I create codes and FG codes and SMG codes.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that helps a lot. I'm trying to gauge, the level of expertise and knowledge and understanding that each of you has in SAP. So that way I could, once when we start the course, I'll have an idea as to how should I start and where to start, because there will definitely be varying levels of, maturity level in terms of SAP understanding and functioning with the students who will be joining through the course. So I can restructure myself to cover, from that perspective. So, what I was explaining, Manish, earlier, I will not go over the entire PDF document again anyway. You already have the entire course content emailed out to you from Madhu, probably. So that's what I was kind of briefly talking about as to what each of these topics in SAP would deal with. And this is probably going to be a 4-weekend course. That would mean Saturdays and Sundays, 8 days altogether for the course. And we will definitely not rush through, but we'll make sure that we stay on track and try to complete the topics in detail. Not only the business process flow, but also the configuration aspect of it as well. And I was also sharing with Manish about any questions, if there were for students relating to the subject, they can always reach me at learnandmaster@gmail.com, not only during the course, but also once the course gets over. If there are any administrative type questions, then you can always reach out to Madhu at TekTaurus.com. Anything related with placements and anything that you have non-subject related. Okay. I was kind of briefly mentioning about the profiles of students, and I was expecting some more students to be on, but looks like we only have a couple of them right now. It's yourself and Manish. Okay, so do you have any questions, Soham?
No, not right now.
Okay, so if there are no further questions, I think that's all I wanted to share for today. Hopefully we'll be talking again pretty soon. And I'm sure Madhu is going to be emailing out this recording session for the rest of the students as well. So thanks for joining the call. Manish and Soham, have a good night.
Thank you.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Good night.